Hello and welcome to the Flux Planner training video. My name is Matt Vazdenskas. I'll be walking you through this tutorial. The Flux Planner Lightning component is a user interface built for interacting with Flux resource workloads and visualizing utilization levels. With this UI, you have a resource-centered view into projects and tasks with the ability to drill into those details to see what makes up resource allocation. In this video, we'll show you how to navigate the UI, adjust view settings to show just what you need, and interact with the data in the resource timeline. Once oriented, we'll show you how you can use this tool to take action by managing workload to keep utilization levels balanced. Before we get started, it's important to call out that action is required by your Salesforce system administrator to begin using the Flux Planner UI. There are two permission sets that control and secure functionality in the Flux Planner. First, the Flux Planner viewer permission set grants people ability to access the UI in a read-only fashion. All users that will be using the Flux Planner must have this Flux Planner viewer permission set. The second permission set is the Flux Planner admin permission set. This is a supplemental permission set that grants users the ability to reassign tasks and take action on tasks in the Flux Planner. This Flux Planner admin permission set must be applied along with the viewer permission set for any users that will have those more advanced capabilities. Let's get comfortable navigating the Flux Planner. The Flux Planner is accessed through the Flux Planner tab shown here. This should be included as part of the Flux Capacity app. You can also add the Flux Planner tab to other apps in your Salesforce environment, including TaskRay, Sales, Service, etc. What we see inside the Flux Planner is a visual representation of all TaskRay tasks and their forecasted hours for the date range that's been displayed. A few things are always excluded from the Flux Planner view. First of all, any TaskRay project that's been marked as exclude from Flux forecasts, which is a checkbox on the project, are excluded from view. Also, any tasks that have either been marked as archived or have been completed are not going to display in the Flux Planner. So keep in mind that you're always looking at a real-time view of open, active tasks for in-flight projects inside of the planner. It's also worth noting that on-hold projects are not specifically filtered out of the Flux Planner. For those, we recommend following your internal on-hold process and in some situations marking on-hold projects as exclude from Flux forecasts. That will exclude them from resource planning. Moving forward, there are three sets of view settings that give you control over what you see in the Flux Planner timeline. First of all, a date range selector. Next, a set of summary settings. And finally, a set of filters. Let's dive into each of those. The date range selector controls the duration of the timeline that is drawn in the Flux Planner UI. We can select from this week and next, next week, or a custom range. I'm going to push this out a few weeks so we can get an expanded view. For best results, we recommend working with no more than 6 to 8 weeks of data at a time. Actual results in your org may vary, but depending on the volume of data in your environment, such as the number of resources and the volume of TaskRay tasks, you may need to apply filters or work with shorter date ranges in order to operate within Salesforce query limits and in order for page performance to work as expected. The next set of settings beyond date range are summary settings, and this can be toggled on and off using the summary icon here. The resource summary by is either specified at a day level, a week level, or the entire current range. Toggling between these options will change the range at which calculations are performed. So in this case, we're seeing weekly utilization for all open tasks for the resources with red highlights indicating anything over 100% utilization. So at a glance, we can see that coming up on the week of the 26th, Maggie has a bit of, or is a bit overbooked, as is Jenny and Sam. And we can view that into the future and plan accordingly. The final view setting we have is filters. By clicking on the filter icon, we see a side panel displayed that gives us the ability to input various filters to control the data set that's displayed. Let's work through these from top to bottom. First, we can select one or multiple teams, and both the team and the resource filter allows for type to search. So in this case, I'm going to limit my view to just the resources that are a member of the onboarding specialist team. And I see what was a list of 7 or 8 resources has been dwindled to 3. I can eliminate a filter simply by Xing out that filter. Resource options are similar in that we can type to search for a specific named resource. We can also just pick and choose resources as shown here and quick apply. So now we're seeing just the very specific resources that we've selected, which comes in handy anytime you're either doing a team meeting or having one-on-ones or a sidebar with a couple of specific resources that may have concern about utilization levels. We can clear those again by Xing out selected resources. And we're back to our full display. The next setting is the ability to show queues. So this will display really all of the placeholder owners of our task array tasks. And so now that that's been selected, you'll see blue bars representing queues such as the ERP consultant and onboarding specialist. Hide those again. For those using forecast projects, this filter, include forecasts, will do just that. It will bring in task data for any projects related to your open opportunities that are still specified as Flux forecast projects. And finally, we have a filter for time types. This gives you the ability to specify whether you want to look at all tasks or just billable or non-billable tasks. So in this mode, I can see just the billable work that is assigned to our resources, eliminating any non-billable work, so I can determine exactly where priority work is currently assigned, and also if we're seeing overages when we're looking at all. Sometimes by shrinking just to the priority billable work, we'll see a clearer picture. And previously we had seen Jenny was overbooked, but when we're just looking at billable work, we see that she's still within utilization range. So perhaps some of that non-priority or lower priority non-billable work is not quite as critical to get complete, and we can still feel confident that she has availability to finish her priority billable work. Now let's dig into the details of the timeline. Each resource has a summary bar that provides statistics on utilization levels. Color coding helps us to, at a glance, understand and differentiate between low work levels and high work levels. Gray bars here with white text will display normal working days for a resource where no work has been assigned. Gray bars with black text represent a non-working day where work has been assigned. Otherwise, a blank gray bar is a non-working day, such as a Sunday in this case. Blue is a working day with a less than 100% utilization level. Red is a working day with greater than 100% utilization level. So red indicates an overbooking. And lastly, we see orange representing the fact that time away is present for certain resources. This is nice, especially when scheduling or planning ahead so that we can visualize where resources will be unavailable due to being out of the office. Now, within each resource, we can drill in and expand to see a set of projects that are assigned to the resource across the current timeline. So here for Maggie, we see Big Tech Solutions, Blue Dome Resort, etc. With each of those projects, we can actually see the total number of hours at a daily level and the percent of total utilization that those number of hours for that project specifically represents. So here for Blue Dome, on Monday the 27th, we see that Maggie has 4 hours assigned, which represents 57% of her total capacity. We can expand a project to drill in to the underlying tasks and see exactly what those tasks make up. So we can see within Blue Dome, there's a present and gain sign-off task, there's a phase 1 complete task, and prepared designs, etc. This gives us clear visibility into the underlying workloads and the estimated hours for those tasks. Also, within the timeline, you have the ability to click into resource links to open the resource detail, and the same with projects and tasks. Clicking on either a project or a task will open that record in its native detail page inside of Salesforce Lightning. Managing resource allocation is quick and easy in the Flux Planner. Taking action is a two-step process. First, we'll identify resource allocation concerns and select tasks to assess reassignment impacts. And secondly, we'll locate the right Flux resource and reassign those tasks. The end result should be balanced utilization for the resources that we're managing. Let's demonstrate this. So I'm looking currently at a 2-week view of resources in the planner. And one thing that really stands out to me is that Sam Wilson is showing as red across all of next week. So let's expand Sam and investigate what's going on here. So it looks like really at about 7 hours a day, he's just a little bit, about 17% overutilized. And we can see that his workload is made up of some non-billable work, as well as 3 main projects. So I can click on one of those projects, and what we'll see is a scenario that's modeled. So if we were to take the Woods project off of Sam's plate, we can see that that's actually going to return him to a desired utilization level at 90%. I can deselect that, see what his original was, and select another project if we'd like. Now, the Glades selection actually takes more work off of his plate than we'd like, and we may have a challenge. We may be challenged locating a resource that's available to the tune of 12 hours next week. So let's go ahead and select the woods again. Again, we see the resulting utilization for SAM is 90%, and we're going to click reassign. So this moves us into step 2, which is reassignment mode. And what we will see here is the resulting utilization of all available resources. And we can filter these if we'd like to pare down the resources that we're looking at to a certain team or a couple of specified resource names. But we see the resulting utilization. So for that set of tasks from SAM, it looks like the other resources are going to have some trouble because we're seeing a combination of red days for each of those resources except for Andrew. So Andrew looks like he might be a good candidate. We can also expand Andrew's workload and see what he's actually working on next week. And it looks like it's primarily non-billable work, and he does have a little bit less than 10 hours of work on the Flatirons Industries project. So I would say we can comfortably make a reassignment to Andrew and still keep him within a reasonable utilization level. So in order to lock in that change, we simply select Andrew, assign selected, and now we are returned back to step 1. And we can see Andrew has been assigned the Woods project. We'll expand that. There we see it. Sam is back in the blue. And if we expand, we'll see his remaining projects, of which the Woods is not listed.